Hi, I'm Esther.
And I'm Sean.
I write about AI news here at Tech Target.
And I edit Esther's stories.
We're here to talk to tech experts about everything AI, from open and closed models to AI agents and who's ahead in the generative AI race.
And even the elusive AGI.
We've got it covered, right, Sean?
Yep, we've got it covered.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of the Targeting AI podcast. Today, Sean and I are speaking with Michelle Bonat, Chief AI Officer at AI Squared. AI Squared is an AI and data integration platform. Before AI Squared, Michelle was the AI CTO at JP Morgan and Chase. Before then, she was the co-founder of a SaaS platform called Data Simply, and she was recently named to the AI 150 list and holds patents in machine learning. Thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast, Michelle.
Thank you for having me, Esther and Sean.
Okay, so to kick us off, we want to hear about your path to AI technology and data. How'd you become interested in AI tech? And what led you to start a SaaS company? And how did you end up at JP Morgan Chase?
So many great questions. um, so I started my career really on the um, pure tech side, engineering in product, and then I became more and more technical, managing large engineering teams at Oracle. And then I really saw the opportunity for data, right? So I started to work more in the data space and then more in the machine learning space. And then, you know, as Gen AI came to the fore, really pressing forward on that. And so I'd say what drove me or what drives me is, the technology is fun, of course, but it's really how it helps us live our life, run better businesses, solve problems. It's the applied AI aspect that I'm really drawn to.
So, obviously, you're now with AI Squared. What is AI Squared? How did you get into it? And what is the goal for enterprise customers?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, after I founded my own fintech, uh, data and AI fintech, I went over to JP Morgan Chase. And so I came in as the leading AI innovation for Chase. So adding AI into our, more than 90 products, 40.5 billion monthly logins, doing that at immense scale. And then based on that success, became an AI CTO in the organization, essentially, productionizing those initiatives. And what I found was that while, it was terrific to have the immense resources and frankly, best in class talent at JP Morgan, there were some parts of the, journey that were always bumpy, across the industry. And that was specifically around how you do the last mile integration and get user feedback. And that's really where AI squared started, right? So the initial core of AI squared was applied to the military intelligence community. So our CEO came from the NSA. Our first customer was the NSA, and the problem to be solved was how do you get insights to the, fighters in the field while you have a lot of legacy applications, you have all these integrations, these gnarly integrations, and it takes a long time and it's expensive. And once you make a change, you have to make it again. So, no surprise when these federal organizations, began to uptake AI squared platform. Financial services took note because financial services loved anything that is, used by Fed and military intelligence. And so when I joined, we really started to build that, you know, um, uh, financial services sort of industry presence and directly translating from what I found in my experience at JP Morgan that operationalizing the ML, particularly in the last stages, was difficult, and then optimizing, experimenting, getting feedback from users and bringing that full circle. I was a need I had as a user in the market, and that's what really drove me to AI Squared.
Okay, so I think a lot of enterprises are thinking about data quality, and there's a lot of new data quality tools and data governance tools. And so, how does ad quality data affect the uptake of Gen AI technologies?
So in my experience, the uptake is not slower with bad data. Any organization, really feels, many organizations feel they need to be in the mix, right? So let's put up a chatbot, right? And they may not realize at the time how data may affect the experience um, until they get into it. And so, if you look at the statistics, many organizations started with Gen AI in 2024. Most of them I've heard would say that they are not optimized, or even they sometimes put a pause. And when you ask them that, one of the top reasons is actually because of data quality, or you know, data cause things that have happened that are caused by data. So, for example, hallucinations, right? LLMs, they make things up. That is how they work, right? If they don't have a perfect answer, they will give you an answer, they will make up an answer, right? There's techniques to, you know, have them do that less, or create guardrails, and create guardrails around topics they can answer, or uh, things like that. Having said that, it's, goes back to the data question, right? So, um, it really goes back to the data question, which is so fundamentally interesting. As Gen AI expands and expands, and we hear every day, especially in this week news of, for example, DeepSeek, came out and really shook up the foundational AI industry. Really, the fundamentals are the fundamentals, and I guess that is um, in perfect line with what we would all expect.
So, as what would you say is the best way to ensure data safety?
I would say it goes back to the fundamentals are a solid data strategy, right? So you want to have um, in mind your regulatory compliance and risk management for whatever country you're in. You want to look at your um, scalability. So are your data sets well organized? Are they, do you have a good infrastructure for that, whether you're in the cloud or on premise? Um, do you can you deliver that in ways that are cost efficient for you? So depending on where organizations are in the journey, they may be in the cloud, they may be on premise, they may be hybrid, right? Still, some organizations, particularly in secure governed industries, they may have some data in the cloud, and they may have the more personal data, not in the cloud, right, on premise, which is a great strategy. So, what is your organizational strategy to get there, to get that security, privacy, responsible use of data? And then, what are your security protections? So the, large cloud providers have easy, I should say, ways to enable that are built in. But what is your, security plan for your data? Encryption, access controls, and all that. And, really having those things I mentioned in place is the fundamental basics of data strategy, whether you're doing AI or not, or until you're ready to do AI, and, across your AI journey.
Okay, sounds good. So let's switch gears to more newsy stuff that's happening in the news right now. You
Right.
mentioned DeepSeek. Esther's been grappling with DeepSeek all week, writing about that whole thing. And Alibaba came out with a copycat chatbot a couple of days ago as well. And so ByteDance is trying to do that. Anyway, so we have this new administration, and Esther's been writing about this too. and I've been editing it. And the recent news about the AI executive order, so to the executive order, the new executive order gets rid of the AI safety order. And so, what are some
Right.
thoughts you have on AI safety as we think of it, and the approach or non-approach the Trump administration has taken on AI safety? And do you think it's like a free for all now, that or can vendors self-regulate by building own guardrails? I mean, can vendors and enterprises like build their own AI safety outside of?
Can they? Yes. Will they? That's the question, right? Um, where the new administration in the US is going, um, no one can say, right? Is it different from the old administration? Certainly is. But we knew this was coming, right? So we knew that um, it's very, very different from the EU AI Act, right? Which literally prescribes ways that LLMs need to be observed, analyzed and managed, right? So we don't at all have that in the US, and we actually didn't even have that under Biden, right, at this point. So the US, where will we go on regulations, under this new administration? Of course, right? We have every indication that it's more hands off. Some people think that's a good thing. People think that's a bad thing. I think that's, likely a whole nother podcast. Um, but so from a um, responsible AI perspective, the way I think about it, and what Etzler, you and I were talking about the other day, is that how can this be a competitive advantage for businesses, for organizations using AI? And frankly, why would they pay attention to um, ethical, responsible AI if they don't legally need to yet, right? Is a really interesting question, right? So why is responsible AI a priority business for businesses? So, some organizations um, it's a very easy choice for them. They will say, well, our mantra across our entire strategy is be trustworthy, ethical, and have the, um, uh, privacy and rights of our customers, front and center, right? Organizations like Chase, that is their mantra, that is their business model, right? Other organizations may not think about it that way for whatever reasons. Perhaps they're earlier in the life cycle of data or AI, right? Perhaps they're, sorting it out. So why should more broadly organizations think about responsible AI? And what I'll say is it's because it benefits their business. It benefits their business because it benefits their customers. They will be more competitive and their business will do better. So specifically why. Um, One reason is trust and brand reputation. So customers want AI systems they can trust. They want companies they know they can work with ethically. And so being um, transparent about your and having responsible AI helps increase your brand reputation, helps increase the trust of your customers, right? Proactively. Reactively, nobody wants to be have to respond reactively when there's a AI bias, misinformation, unethical use. Um, you know, of course, you don't want that tarnishing your brand reputation, but you don't want that as a bad customer experience because, as we all know these days, a bad customer experience travels really, really quickly, through the where people talk, right, and online and all that. So, being proactive and having that way to um, I'd say continue to expand your trust, expand and, even further improve your brand reputation is a business advantage, right? especially if it's not legally required, right? If you're the one of the few doing it in your industry, perhaps the only one, you'll be the star. You'll have an advantage. It is a business advantage. It's a competitive advantage um, to have responsible AI. I'm completely convinced.
So, quick follow up. You at the beginning of that part, you said that you raised the question of will enterprises, but it sounds like you think they should, and they are the larger, bigger brands, and especially.
How do you do that is the question. I wouldn't say, if you put you know, a group of senior executives in the room and you said, do you want to do responsible AI? Of course, right? Do you want to have your brand continue to be trusted? Of course, right? Nobody will say, I don't want that. Um, really, the operationalizing that is the new part, is the some of the challenge, right? And so the organizations that and this is a dialogue in the industry, that have done this the best, what I hear over and over again is that it's not a separate process, it's not a separate group, it's not a separate initiative. It's woven into the operations at really every stage, right? And we see that over and over again for the most successful organizations. And we see them mindfully understanding how to run their business and incorporating that into their uh, operation. So, what do I mean by that? So, the challenges or opportunity can crop up at every stage of the life cycle, right? So everything from uh, data bias to model bias to, you know, if you think of the endpoint as the Gen AI chatbot, someone can, you know, try to attack your chatbot by adding bad actor commands as an end user, right? That's even possible. Um, and so to put in a process that, again, not a separate group, not a separate mandate, not a separate, these KPIs are everybody's KPIs, everybody's OKRs, that as you operationalize it, it's the same conversation in the room as you're looking at your data, as you're building your models, as you're testing your models, as you're putting your models into production, as you're, iterating and tuning your models, all part of the same conversation. And that's what we see the most successful organizations are doing.
To hear the full audio podcast, please go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, Audible, TuneIn, Podbean, and other popular podcast platforms.